G'day guys, as they say in the classics, welcome back to the channel. We are out here at Mundaring disc golf course today at my home course. You may have seen some film of it at the Aussie Open back in 2015 and 2017. That was the Gold Championship course. Since then we've been doing a bit of work and we've built a blue level course, advanced level course essentially. Not a lot of people have, outside of WA, because of COVID, have really seen the blue course. So it's a mix of what was our old white course and some completely new holes. So I thought today we'll come out and we'll have a bit of a look at how the blue course plays. I'm going to have a little bit of a practice round. I'll show you what I throw. I mean, I'm not a pro. I'm about a 920 rated player, so this might be something that will help those middle of the road people, just give you a bit of an idea of how this course plays. It's probably been about 90 degrees today Fahrenheit, so about 33 today out in Perth. Next couple of days I think it's pushing up into the hundreds again, around about 100 degrees. So it's a really nice day to come out and have a bit of a throw. Late afternoon, birds are singing. We may see some kangaroos later on today. We are on hole 1 today, 125 metres downhill. You can see the basket down towards the bottom of the hill there. We've got a little bit of a headwind, so it's a pretty tight gap to hit into. So into a headwind, sometimes it can be a little bit dodgy, trying to throw and control a turnover. So I prefer to throw a sidearm here. With this little bit of a headwind, I'm going to throw the new Royal Rive prototype. Really nice flying disc, which is always hooks up towards the end, which is really useful. So let's throw the Rive and we'll see how we go. Alright, so pretty reasonable sort of position to finish here. Those of you who have been here to Mundaring, you may have played the white course. We're playing off the same tee to the same basket, but we are, instead of playing as a white par 4, this is a blue par 3. So it's a long birdie look here. I'm going to have a throw with my Westside Megasoft shield, just to be able to really have a go at it, and then hopefully just have it stick and stop if I don't actually get it into the basket. So let's see how we go. All right, not bad. Okay, so we're here on hole 2. Again, this is the old white hole. We're keeping some of the harder white holes and replacing some of the easier ones with blue. So this is now part of the blue course. Basket is 90 metres that way, slightly uphill. You've got 2 tunnels that you can play out of here. So you can play the backhand right straight at the basket, or you can come out to the left here with the sidearm. Now, the sidearm gap is a little bit bigger. I can line myself up a little bit more reliably on the sidearm, so for me that's where I go, sidearm. I want to try and get a bit of fade on this shot, so I'm going to throw my Fusion Defender this time, and we'll see how we go. Not bad, a little bit more of a skip would have been nice, but we've got an outside look at another 2. We ended up probably just edge of the circle here. Watching Yuli's video the other day on his own little sort of practice round, he did something that I thought was actually quite useful. So I'm going to give that a bit of a go today when I've got some decent sized putts, which was to try and replicate 2 putts in a row. So I've got 2 shields here, BT hard burst shields, and I'm going to try and sort of replicate each one. I haven't had a lot of putting practice for a while, so I'm really just interested in making sure that my stroke is nice and smooth. Hopefully we might sink one or two, but I'm certainly no Yuli. Let's see how we go. Alright, so the good news there was, just as per Yuli, first one missed, made the correction to make the second one. So that's a useful little tool, I think, when you're coming out for a practice round. Take two putters, try and either replicate two good putts, or if you miss one, then maybe try and make the adjustment on the second one and make the second one. Alright, so even after 2 holes at the moment, I'm never usually too unhappy about a start where I'm even after 2. The first 4 or 5 holes here, 6 holes really, are a little bit tough. So if you can get some birdies, they're a bonus. If not, as long as you're not leaking strokes, you should be okay. We've got an 84 metre, slightly uphill par 3 here. There is an OB green, golf green on the left hand side. So you want to, if possible, stay away from that. The mistake to make, if you're going to make a mistake, is to turn one over too far and end up a little bit down the hill. You'd rather be there than not turning one over and ending up onto the green and costing yourself a shot. I have got a pretty understable sword here, which was given to me by Reese Kruger. So shout out to Reese. This hopefully will turn over enough to keep it to the right hand side. I'm not too worried distance wise. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky here because it's a slight uphill as well. So I'm just looking to make sure I don't make the mistake of leaving the disc at the top of the hill where it's at risk of either going out of bounds, or it's a really tricky shot from up the top of the hill there as well, as far as approaches go as well. So that can be a little dangerous. So if I can get it right and keep it on the flat, I'm happy. Let's see how we go. That's done the trick. Alright, pretty happy with that, pretty much parked. Looks like an easy birdie. Alright, so 1 under after 3. We are on hole 4, which is essentially the second half of the gold hole. You go across the golf fairway and end up in another side where it's a little bit wooded, and you have 2 channels to play, down the right or down the left, and the basket is sitting right in the middle of the 2 channels at the back there. So 75 meters. Again, deceptively slightly uphill, but the play, wherever possible, is to try and basically make sure you don't hit anything early, and if you don't hit anything early, you should be okay to get up and down for your par. So for this one, I'm looking to play something reasonably straight, maybe a little bit of fade at the end. We'll see how we go. I've got my Lucid X Maverick this time. I'm going to play the right channel, the backhand channel. That again is a slightly larger channel, and it's a little bit wider towards the back end of it as well, so I can get it through that initial gap. We should have at least an easy par. Wow. Lucky bounce off the tree stump. Unlucky cut roll back into the middle there, so let's see what we've got left. Alright, so we've probably got only about 25 metres to the basket. I'm a little bit squeezed up tight though, so for me here, probably a nice little high spike hyzer just to try and drop it in there near the basket. If I need to drop something in and get something to absolutely hyzer, I'm generally going for my Lucid Justice. Let's see how we get. going a bit. A little wide, but should be close enough for an easy putt. Alright, so we're on hole 5 here, still now 1 under after 4. Hole 5 is one of the new holes. It is a little bit north of the old tee, the old gold tee, and it's a little bit shorter than that, 79 metres. We are playing through a much more tight fairway though. There's a couple of lines. There is a bailout line to the right. There is a hyzer line there, and a reasonably straight sort of flip line there. There is another line which I tend to have a bit of a speculator at, which is a sidearm turnover. The key with this hole is to just make sure you don't hit anything too early. If you are far enough down, you should be able to get up and down for your 3 at worst. You might be able to have a run at the 2 even. But you need to not hit anything too early. Because I don't want to hit anything too early, I'm normally throwing my sidearm here to ensure that I can be safely through the gaps. With that in mind, I need a little bit of a turnover, I need a bit of an S, so I am throwing a Destiny, Tournament Burst Destiny, to try and get that little bit of turn for hopefully getting a little bit of fade back up towards the basket. Let's see how we go. Alright, we hit something a bit early, but I think we should be able to get up and down from there. Okay, so we are probably, again, 25 short, 25 metres that is. Just a little bit too far to the right to play the little Annie line down that line. I could try a little flex sidearm, or there is a line directly in front of me here, playing up the hill for a little bit of hyzer back towards the basket. So from my perspective, I think the safest line here is to, I'll probably do a little bit of a jump putt, get it up nice and high and let it hyzer back towards the basket down the hill here. I've got Tournament Harp, see if I can just get that through and then get that fade late, put it close, get my 3. Yep, could have gone up a little bit higher up the hill, but I think that's safe enough for the 3. Probably a good time to say a quick shout out to my sponsor DD, Dynamic Discs. Great bunch of people to work with. They supply me with some great plastic. My game has come on in leaps and bounds really since using it consistently and getting to know these discs a lot better. So I'm really appreciative of the support that Dynamic Discs give me. Go out and try their discs, guys. Alright, a lot of pars here. Again, as I say, early on in this course, a par isn't too bad a score. But a lot of tap-in, a lot of easy pars as well. So it'd be nice to just maybe have made the most of a couple of opportunities. Try and get to the point where I can actually have a run at some of these holes. But overall, 1 under after 5. I'm actually not too unhappy with that. So hole 6, this is one of the original whites. It was one of the very difficult whites, 105 metres, again uphill, and a little bit more uphill than what you realise. It's not until you go up to the basket and look back down to the tee to see actually how far uphill this is. You can't really see the basket from here, it's hidden in the trees way back there. You've essentially got 2 lines to play here, so people will either play up the right hand side here and try and hyzer one around into the tunnel, which forms part of the larger hole 6, the gold hole 6, But we, a couple of years ago, realigned this tee pad so that it now points a little bit more towards the basket rather than out towards the fairway, and cleaned up some of the trees, some of the branches off the trees in the middle here. So you now can play straight at it a little bit more so. Again, for me, I prefer to play straight at it and take the risk of maybe hitting one of those trees early, because I find that my hyzer out to the right is not that reliable. Sometimes I'm too far, sometimes I am too wide. I'd prefer to take my forehand, which is a little bit more consistent for me, and aim it where I want to go. So we're looking to try and get some decent distance, maybe a little bit of flex out of this, and it is a fair way. So I've got my Opto Ballista Pro in my hand this time, and I'll see if I can pick a gap and try and get up there. Tough par 3 though. Caught a tree late. We'll see what we've got left up there. All right, so we just missed this channel. We went a little bit too long on the channel. If I had just been a little bit further right as I came in there, maybe not quite so much turn, we would have found this nice little channel coming up through to the basket there, and that's what I'm aiming for when I'm throwing this shot. It's a bit tight up against these trees to throw a backhand hyzer at it, so I'm going to have to just fashion a little forehand and just try and lob it up somewhere near the basket for the easy 3. I'm going to try and keep it reasonably straight, maybe a little bit of turnover. I've got a Bounty, which is a nice shallow rimmed basket disc here, which is nice for holding those forehand shots. Usually holds pretty straight with not a huge amount of fade at all. So just going to try and lob it up into that space and hope for a little bit of play on the ground to try and get it up near the basket. Alright, we've got a longer putt than I wanted. Alright, tricky little putt through a tight little gap. So, might have to just try and put a little bit of ante on this, try and get it through that gap. Try and be positive as best as I can with this putt to make sure that I get it as close as I can. I reckon I'll probably mark this one, just give me a little bit more space in front of the disc, or in front of this, this log here, in a slightly better position. So the key thing here, I think, is to try and be confident with this uphill, so I can afford to give it a little bit. Wow. Okay. Corrected, but overcorrected. Something to work on, I think. Alright, so back to even now after the bogey there on hole 6. We are now on hole 7. Breeze just sort of picking up as we speak. So we have a pretty much straight tunnel, par 4, fairly short par 4, but you need to try and get it into the tunnel. There's a Mando tree to the left there, so you need to stay right of that. This is 120 metres, so it's pretty short as par 4s go, so generally you're looking for birdie each time, but it's a matter of where you end up off the tee as to how easy that second shot is to get in there for birdie. I think we should be okay. The wind has tended to die down a little bit. I have a tournament sword. This one is a little bit straighter than the one that I used earlier on hole 3. So I'm hoping for maybe a tiny little bit of turnover and more or less a reasonably straight finish. Swords normally finish forward, reasonably straight. They don't hook up too much. So I'm looking for that straight sort of shot down the fairway here. So let's have a look and see if I can manage to get it somewhere down the fairway. Straight but low. Should see how we go here now. Alright, so we're probably looking at only about 40 metres or so at the moment, straight through a reasonably sort of narrow tunnel. For this one, I'm looking just at a nice sort of straight, maybe a very slight little bit of turnover on the shot to get me down somewhere near the basket. I might change my mind. I'll try a classic deputy here. Try and get that down. Pick up that easy three. That is not what I was looking for. Alright, I've left myself in a pretty bad spot here. Just threw a really bad shot. I need to learn to get my standstills right. Still certainly a couple of things in my game that I still need to work on. I prefer to get the jump putt in than the standstill. It's cost me on this occasion. We've got a pretty narrow gap here. We've got a pretty low ceiling in front of us, so I've really not got much other option than to try the sidearm, try and get it into that gap and get it down towards the basket. My overstable short sidearm of choice, if it's not a Justice, it's the Lucidex Suspect. So I'm going to try and get one through that gap there and see if I can get it down close enough to make it a putt. Hopefully that's good enough. So yeah, managed to get it close enough. It's not a three, where it really should be a three here. I think you've got to take your chances, particularly on the par fours on this blue course, but at least I've probably salvaged the four here. Alright, so we're here on hole 8, the gold hole 8. This hole plays similar to the one at Maple Hill, which goes out over the water and back in again. This fairway is usually out of bounds. Talking to Kim Holmes when we were designing the blue course, and we were going to put another hole in somewhere along the same sort of lines, and he suggested that maybe we look at something over the other side of the fairway. So when we had a bit of a look over the other side of the fairway, we found a unique little hole, which is a good little practice hole, very similar to one out in Canberra in the ACT, where you have a double Mando. So we're going to go and have a bit of a look at that now. Alright, so here we are on hole 8, the blue hole 8, so we're on the other side of the fairway now. You may be able to see in the distance there are two blue M's down there on two of the trees, so that's a double Mando, and hiding behind the middle tree is our basket. The wind, this being a country golf course, ball golf course, the wind, and being in a fairly hilly sort of area, winds are fairly variable, but there is a wind which can blow up this fairway fairly strongly at times. It's not too bad at the moment. There's a little bit of wind out there. You can never usually feel it when you're on the tee. On particularly windy days, I may go for, again, the safe play just to try and make sure I don't miss the Mando. I'll play just a little sidearm felon out there just to control where I land and try and land it in front of the Mando there and make the easy three. Then if the wind isn't too bad, we might have a go and see if we can get it close. a practice round today, I may as well, when I'm at a practice round, take the slightly more risky option, and that is to play the backhand straight at it. I've got my donut tournament shield here, trying to just get it out there straight, try and hope that it continues to hold that line all the way down towards the basket. With a putter in my hand, 71 metres, there is a chance that if I don't get it quite right, I may end up a little bit short, which is perfect because I don't want to be past that Mando line. So we will have a speculator at it and see if we can get it somewhere close near that basket between those Mandos. That'll do the trick. So we managed to get it between the Mandos, no problems, reasonably easy, parked it pretty much, so looks like an easy two. Back onto the card. Alright, so we're actually not on hole 11, we're on hole 9 of the blue course. It plays off the back of Gold 11's tee, so we're on the other side. And for those who've played here before or seen the Aussie Open footage, the hole 9 plays from the other side of the fairway. We are now playing from the right side of the fairway down to the basket, 96 metres. This has the out of bounds golf green in play, the sand green down there. You need to throw a little bit more over the top of that to get there. Usually in a tournament we'll have some out of bounds flags also down the left hand side as well. So it's a reasonably sort of narrow landing zone. And again, there are days where coming up this hill there is a fairly ripping headwind. So there's a little bit of headwind out there today, not too bad. I'm going to try and play for, if I can, making my error to go past the basket on this particular occasion, because if I do land short, there's every chance that I'd either go OB onto the green or OB out of bounds on the left hand side if the flags were out there. So my safest play is to actually get it out as far as I can and try and get it over the top, out towards the back of the green. Can sometimes, don't always. I'm going to try that with my Snowline Ballista, Scandinavian Open Snowline Ballista, which has been a pretty reliable disc for me over a long time. It's starting to become a little bit more understable, but it still holds up reasonably well, and I do get a reasonable amount of distance out of it. So I'm going to try and get that shape of shot, see if I can get it out the back there. Massive hyzer flip. Sometimes that happens when I'm trying to throw it too hard. Still got to work on that, get a bit of field work going with that. Out of the left would have been out of bounds if there'd been flags out there on this occasion, but there's not, so let's go down there and see if I can get up and down. Alright, so pretty narrow little tunnel we've got ourselves here. Just in a slightly more uncomfortable position than I would like. I'd love to have just a little bit more space here. I think we will try and flick out the Mega Soft here. Downhill putt, so I don't want it to go too far if I miss. Let me try and get a little speculator at it. Alright, well, on another day, maybe we're closer, on another day it hits that tree and it stops, so that's an okay result. Alright, so 1 under for the first 9, solid enough. Could have been better in places, dropped one on hole 6. I'm not overly unhappy with that. It's something to build on for the next 9 holes. We're going to put that 9 holes into a second video, so look out for that in coming days. But if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Hopefully we'll come up with some more rounds to sort of show you around some of maybe the local neighbourhood in Perth, but there'll certainly be some disc golf content for you to watch here at Mundaring and here in Perth.